And we are the partners of Solarian Games.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Peter. And Jason is back
I'm
from
back.
from
I
Plague
I
Town.
I appreciated you doing the show by yourself last week, and
Yeah.
I got a good laugh when I tuned in at the beginning and you said, "Well, Jason's not doing well," and I'm like, "Oh my God, did I die?"
Yeah, but then I followed it up. I was
I
like,
know.
no,
I
he's doing
definitely. It cracked me up. It cracked me up.
yeah. For real after I said it, I realized, oh crap.
Phrasing.
Phrasing. Right, exactly.
Yeah, all right. So, hey, just a quick note ahead of time. My voice sounds like garbage, but it sounds a lot better than it sounded for the past several days. Sometimes, no matter how many vaccinations you get, some virus hits you that you just didn't know about. Con crud is real. Do what you can, folks.
Right.
And don't wait until you're like a week in to go to the doctor and have to go, we have medicine for that, right? So,
We could have given you something for that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. All right.
glad to be back.
Yes, and this week our stories are Starship Troopers reboot based on the actual book. Very excited. New Wolfenstein tabletop RPG hits crowdfunding in the fall. Super excited. Pumpkin Spice joins the million dollar crowdfunder club. Ryan Dancy fired for his AI statement. Still thinks AI should make art. D&D finally announces its 2026 releases, and we're going back to Ravenloft. The Trump admin will pay interest on tariff refunds after Supreme Court ruling, and Wizards finally calls it D&D 5.5e, ending 5 years of bizarre branding.
All right, let's jump in with the first one. Something I think a lot of people have hoped would happen one day. This is actually not entirely new news. It is getting more traction at this point, however. So, Starship Troopers, the book by Robert Heinlein from 1950, whatever, was made into a movie by Paul Verhoeven back in the 90s, which was garbage. And a lot of people who are Heinlein fans have complained that, well, hang on a second, this guy who made the movie, he didn't even read the book. So I'm going to get into that. But there has been rumors for a while about a new one being made, and this one is going to be made with Neil Blomkamp, who is the director of Chappie and District 9 and Elysium and Gran Turismo. So he's really good at doing very gritty sci-fi. Definitely a sci-fi fan, and I think sounds like somebody who would handle this really well.
Yeah.
So Neil Blomkamp. Well, actually, let's go back to the movie that since you have the crappy '90s one up on the screen right now.
Right.
So basically, what happened was there's this guy Paul Verhoeven. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name right. If that's wrong, I don't care. He's a jerk. He had a story that he'd been working on a script called Bug Hunt at Outpost 7. And somebody who was reading the script said, that's a lot like the book Starship Troopers. Maybe you should read that. Maybe we should license it, because it's famous. You're not. And so he read the book. He didn't finish it. He said it was boring. And then he turned around and made a satire of like the small amount that he had read. And it just random garbage in it. There's a teen romance in the movie for some reason. There's nothing like that in the book. The book's got nothing to do with teen romance.
Right.
And just in a nice little bit of irony, the actual book, Starship Troopers, one of the hallmarks of it, it's set in a future where Earth has become very multicultural and very diverse. I mean, obviously, Earth always has been, duh.
Right.
But you know what I mean. The society, the sort of society that he's talking about on Earth, is very multicultural and diverse. His main character is Juan Rico, and so you should cast maybe a Hispanic guy in that thing.
Right.
No,
It's set in Rio by a guy with the guy Rico, and it's like as white as could be.
yeah, it was just a total mess. So the original film was a bomb at the time. They spent over $100 million on it and barely made their money back at the box office. They did make it back, but just barely. But it went on to become a cult favorite. And in that time, it has sort of created this ongoing controversy, I guess, or debate, or I don't even know what it is, between people who are like, hey, the movie's fun, and I think the book's fascist, and this movie's making fun of fascists. And then people who have actually read the book, who maybe think differently.
Hmm.
So a few things about it. It's being developed by Sony Columbia Pictures. They've said that it is aiming to be a faithful adaptation of the 1959
It's
novel.
gonna be so much cooler.
Um, and so, just to kind of get ready to talk about this, I haven't read the book in a while. So, I went to my public library because I'm a socialist and I picked up a copy of Starship Troopers, as one is meant to do. Uh, and I guess I really wanted to re examine this. I read this book when I was a kid, I read it two or three times since then as an adult. It's always been one of the books I've most enjoyed. And I wanted to go back and look at it and say, what did I enjoy about it? Did I miss something? When's the last time you've read it? Do you remember?
Yeah. Let me think. I actually didn't read it when I was young. I read it when I got older. I want to say about 12 years ago. I read it.
Right. Um, the main thing that jumps out at you when you read the book is what it is primarily. It's military science fiction.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a whole genre. And some people say, really sorry to everybody about my voice. I can hear it myself. But some people say that the military SF genre kind of began with this book.
Oh, okay.
But you can look at a lot of other examples in that genre. So there's Jerry Pournelle, who wrote things like A Spaceship for the King and The Mercenary and The Janissaries. Of course, Joe Haldeman's Forever War. That's a hallmark of military SF. Another hallmark is Dave Drake, who wrote Hammers Slammers.
I never heard of
Really
that.
fun book
Yeah.
about the career of a future mercenary tank regiment.
Mm.
And then you've got Harry Harrison, Bill the Galactic Hero, which is actually sort of a parody of Starship Troopers. If you want to read an intelligent, good critique of the book from an artist, read Harry Harrison. And then you have, of course, John Scalzi with Old Man's War
Oh,
recently.
so good.
Yeah.
It's a good
So
book.
these are all examples of that genre. And mostly what Starship Troopers is, when you actually read it, it is military SF.
Hmm.
This is where the Space Marine kind of comes from. Although I think another book was the first to actually call them Space Marines.
Mm.
And the jumpsuits that they go out in are basically big mechas. It's really fascinating to read for the action parts. But then I think where people get confused and call it, a quote unquote fascist portrayal of things is because Heinlein does philosophize. So the thing about Heinlein is that if you've read a lot of his books, you'll find that he espouses different ideals in each of them. He's not necessarily saying this is the way the world should be, he's exploring a theme.
Right.
And so in this one, the theme he explores basically is, could a society work if instead of just basing it around the idea that everybody should do whatever they like all the time and have all the rights in the world, instead, maybe you have to consider that a country like that could collapse if another country came after it, or in this case, another planet. And so there needs to be some sort of service, that there's actually a duty that people have to their country. And in this, the duty is expressed as military service. I thought, and I think you and I talked about this, we thought that maybe there was other kinds of service you could do as well
Hmm.
in his book, but there's not.
There isn't.
Um,
Okay, so because when I read it, and again, it's been a little while. You've read it just recently, so you probably are more correct than I am. I had thought it was you had to do civil service, not just army or not just military. I thought it could be any civil service, but I guess not.
right. Because in it, they even mention he gets to a point where they run into some merchant marines. And one of the big things that chipped on their shoulder the merchant marines have is that their service is not considered enough for citizenship.
Ah, okay.
But in the book, he makes it very clear that most people don't want citizenship. That citizenship, the only thing you really get out of it is the ability to vote.
Hmm.
You don't get any extra rights, you don't get any extra privileges, anything like that. And the concept behind it is if you want to have a voice in how the place is going to be run, then you need to put your life on the line for the country.
Hmm.
There's actually an interesting bit of history in it too. I mean, not real world history, but his fictional history, where in it, the world breaks down. There's all these wars, all these things happen. Everything just basically goes apocalyptic, and the few groups that emerge to kind of create some sort of structure in this post civilization world are military veterans. And each one of them is like, look, I only trust the guys that I went, that I fought beside. And so
Hmm.
I'm just going to stick with them. And that sort of evolved into this. And it was more of a thing of, well, it works, so let's not change it. That's what the fiction is in here.
Right.
And there are definitely a few monologues given by characters, which it sounds like Heinlein speaking through his characters, and he definitely has a point of view about
Yeah.
this sort of thing. And it is, I would say, a more militaristic point of view, and one that believes that there's always going to be somebody else out there who wants to come and take your stuff, so you should be vigilant.
Hmm.
And people can agree or disagree with that, but it doesn't change the quality of the book,
Right.
which is a really, really good book. So I did want to throw, a couple of things in here. So first of all, I was doing a little more research on this, historical research. Thank you. And I was really surprised to find that in 1968, Galaxy magazine, which is one of the, analog Galaxy amazing stories, uh, did a issue where I don't know who bought this ad, but most of the major science fiction and fantasy writers of the age got together and they signed this ad. There were 2 pages, one on the left, one on the right, and they actually don't correspond to left or right political views because they got it switched around. But on one page it says, "We, the undersigned, believe the United States must remain in Vietnam to fulfill its responsibilities to the people of that country." So these are the pro-war Vietnam vet or Vietnam era people. Signed this in 1968. And on the other side, it says, "We oppose the participation of the United States in the war in Vietnam." And it's pretty much equal, split right down the middle, the number of people. And some of the notable names that you see that were anti war during Vietnam, you see Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Philip K. Dick, Philip Jose Farmer, Ursula Le Guin, Fritz Leiber, Gene Roddenberry, Robert Silverberg, huge names. And you also see some very big names, which I was in some cases surprised to see, in other cases not surprised to see, supporting the Vietnam War. Powell Anderson, one of my favorite authors, that surprised me. Larry Niven, Jerry Pournelle, L. Sprague de Camp, Jack Vance, and then Robert Heinlein is on that side.
Oh, right.
So, I don't think there's any denying that Robert Heinlein had ideas and things that would be considered conservative in his time, or maybe a little right wing. But I want to do a counterpoint now to everybody who talks about, like, well, it's fascism. So I was trying to find what do you call it, a definition. And the first thing you find out when you look for a definition of fascism is there is no definition.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's all
it's
over the
it's
place.
only one country that's ever called themselves fascist, and guess what? It wasn't even Germany.
No,
It
it's
was
Italy.
Italy.
Yeah.
They were the folks that invented the idea.
Hmm.
But there's been a bunch of countries that you could definitely say were like Franco Spain, and obviously Nazi Germany, and a few others. But the thing is, if you just try to then go back and say what did they all have in common, how can you actually call something fascist? Militarism is definitely in there, but that's not enough because I put onions in my omelet this morning, but that didn't make it, a an onion and bacon sandwich just because they
Right.
both have onions in them. All right, so some of the other ones that really do kind of stand out: hyper nationalism, and this is the one where you usually see not just nationalism, but some idea that we were great once, we're not now. We have to return to that great past, and we're going to do it with these other things.
Hmm.
And the first thing is you have to look for your enemies because a fascist government needs enemies.
Right.
And they're usually defined in some kind of like racial or cultural terms. Like, the Nazis would say like, oh, the Jews, they're a bunch of immigrants. They shouldn't be here.
Right.
You have anti-liberalism, anti-communism. That's very, very fascist. Mass mobilization, where you're really trying to get the whole country together. And then, of course, the big one is there needs to be a cult of personality. Some leader at the fore of it all who puts he's an authoritarianism basically.
Hmm.
So in this book, you don't get any of that. You get the militarism a little bit. You
That's better.
definitely don't have hyper-nationalism. There's no nationalism in it. There's no cult of leadership. They never even mention a leader.
No.
In fact, the
Don't even know what
politics.
government it is.
No, the politics are completely left out of it. It's all
Yeah.
about being in the mobile infantry, the MI. Mass mobilization and the militarism, this is very much the opposite of it, because one of the points of the book is that lots of people try to join the military so they can get their citizenship, and the military simply doesn't want them all
Right.
because
Yep.
they're like, look, we don't want somebody who's just going to join up and be, a drag on our resources.
Right.
They keep, in fact, he points out how small their army is compared to most historically.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a militaristic book. Robert Heinlein definitely had more right wing than left wing views, but there is not even the slightest whiff of fascism in this book, unless you're the sort of person who thinks that wearing a uniform makes you a fascist, which case you're on the young ones and it's 1984 and you're a comedy figure.
Right. There was also, I mean, if you look at some of Heinlein's writings, other writings, and even in Starship Troopers, somewhat, he was also very liberal too, especially for his time. There was a lot of things that he listed that that a conservative or quote unquote fascist would never say. You
No,
know,
absolutely. And that's the thing about Robert Heinlein, or really anytime you try to take somebody who was active decades ago and try to apply modern definitions to them, they just don't fit.
mm-mm. No.
So, in
I
any case, excited about this movie. I've had so many arguments with people about Starship Troopers over the years that I wanted to, rant for a little bit about it. And I'm very excited about what this movie is going to be like. I think Neil Blomkamp's probably the best director to pick for it. And I
Yeah,
hope it
right
happens.
now. Yeah, right now I would say so. Because a lot of other directors could pull it off, but it wouldn't be great. Like for example, Michael Bay could do it, but it would be terrible.
Oh my God, he would do the worst thing ever to
Right.
it.
James Cameron would not do a good job with it either.
Huh. Yeah, I guess not. I hadn't thought about him.
I mean, it would look good,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be, I don't think it'd be a good movie.
I think maybe Steven Spielberg could do it, but I'm sure he would have no interest.
Yeah, but I don't think Steven Spielberg would have the real grit. I don't think he'd have the proper grit to it that it needs.
Oh, I think that he knows how to make a war movie.
But I don't think he want. Oh well, yeah, yeah, okay, right, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I take it back. I take it back. Yeah, okay. So
But
fair enough, yeah. But Neil Blomkamp's a good choice. I mean, District 9 is one of my favorite sci-fi movies. It's such a well done movie, and when you realize what kind of budget that was done on, he wasn't given a blank check. He made something great with
yeah,
not a lot to work with.
and I think that's usually the best scenario. The more money, when you give a director more money than they need, it doesn't usually turn out well.
No, usually we'll throw in some more effects for no reason other than the fact that we got money. It's
Let's do
like,
some
oh,
stunt
yeah,
casting and put random people in it. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly.
All right. That's enough of that. We got more Nazis coming up. Here we go.
Yeah, all right. So this is Castle Wolfenstein. There's a new Castle Wolfenstein tabletop RPG coming. I'm pretty excited about that. Modifius Entertainment announced during Gamma Expo 2026, announced the game, and they said that it's going to be based on the video game reboot. So not the original Wolfenstein, the later re-emergence of Wolfenstein as a
Now,
video
what do
game.
you mean by the original?
Well, there's the original, and then there's an original that most people never ever think of. So
The
like
real original.
the real original is a top down. I
Which
played it.
I played that thing so much as a kid.
Yeah.
The real original is honestly, it's one of the best top down shooters I've ever played, and it's slow and it's old and it's for like an Apple II, but it's just so great.
Well, they also had it on a PC because that's the guy I knew
Yeah,
had a PC, and I didn't really get to play it much because it was one of my friends. It was his stepfather that had it, so he was playing it, and like he let me play it a little bit, but it wasn't like at my house and
yeah.
whatever. But I did get to play it a little bit, and it was fun. And then you get the original that everybody seems to think is the original. It's the
Well,
first person
Wolfenstein
shooter.
3D.
Yeah, and that was the first person shooter game.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think it was such a great sequel to the original because while the two of them didn't play like each other because they were separated by years and huge amounts of technology, each one of them was like a breakthrough for its time,
Yeah.
and they were just great, both standouts on their own.
And so the 3D Wolfenstein, I played to death. I used to know that board inside and out. Like I could do a fast run through that game in like, a couple of, like an hour or two.
Yeah,
But it was so good. Until you get to the end and you got to fight the Hitler with the two miniguns. That was a bit much.
yeah,
But but it's a great game.
yeah. In the original, you did go and capture Hitler, but it was more about fighting all of his minions
Yeah, yeah.
because the original was really a one shot, one kill kind of setup.
Yeah, yeah. So then but the RPG is based on a later version that came out, and it focuses on an alternate history timeline, which was established in Wolfenstein: The New Order and Wolfenstein: The New Colossus. I've never played either one of those two. I
Right.
saw them and I wanted to. I just never got around to it. I just don't have a whole lot of time to play video games. But you take on the role of resistance fighters battling Nazi forces. And my understanding is, I did a little look up on this. I think um, I think it takes place in the 60s, and it's assuming the Nazis had won, right?
I don't know.
It's something like that. But I think that's what this is.
So, did they call them Nazis in it?
I don't know. I didn't play it, but I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, because I mean, I noticed that in the graphic we have up on the screen, they've put a just sort of a generic rune type of symbol in there. That's
Yeah,
obviously going where the swastika would go. They're using all the other symbolism, but
sure.
I can understand why in this day and age they don't want to stick a swastika on something.
Right. Well, you can't sell it in Germany if you do.
Right, right. That's why, like, for example, Kiss, the band, their
Yeah.
logo is different in Germany because people think they said that looks like a SS lightning bolt. So
Oh,
they had to
okay.
change the SS in Kiss.
Oh, right. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's a cool. That's
because it
that's
looked like
neat.
a Nazi symbol.
Oh my god. All right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's I'm kind of, there's not a whole lot of information on it because it's they just announced it, and it's not due out until Q3 of 26. Now, if it was us Q3 of 26, the game would be mostly done. But being that it's Modifius,
Right.
they can barrel through. They have an entire staff of people to do stuff. So
Well, so the little bits I've heard about it so far, like so we know the system it's going to use, the 2D20 system from Modifius,
right,
and the articles I'd read said kind of think of some of the other games that have come out in the past year or two about things like this. In fact, we had a couple of them at last year's Golden Fez,
oh yeah, yeah, right,
like Kill Him Faster
right,
and the one where your vampires trying to kill Hitler.
yeah,
I think it's going to be a fast-paced, not tongue-in-cheek exactly, but I think it's going to be very much that sort of thing.
right.
At least, I mean, that's what I would do.
Yeah, let's see. It says here it's set in an alternate history where Nazi Germany deploys advanced technologies to turn the tide against the Allies and ultimately win World War II. And then it takes I can't read this whole thing right now, but yeah, that's the case.
Yeah. So it should be a fun way to go and punch some Nazis.
Yeah, dude, I would play this. I loved Wolfenstein. It was such a
Yeah.
great game. So anyway, all right, this next one's fun and you know what? Less like
Let's
crazy
make a
stuff.
180-degree
Yeah,
thematic turn now.
this looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. So I was actually pretty interested to see what this was even before it hit its funding. So Pumpkin Spice is the name of the game, and it is the latest entry into the $1 million crowdfunding club. In fact, they are on BackerKit, not Kickstarter, And as of today, they have gone past the $1.5 million mark.
Ooh.
All right. The first thing I thought when I saw this was, do you remember how all the grumpy grognards got really triggered a few years ago when there was this D&D book that had a coffee shop in it?
I don't remember that, but
It
I can
was
I can see it. I can imagine.
the book was called Strixhaven, and in it there is a thing. In fact, you have a little picture of it right there. This is actually from the D&D book from
Oh,
Strixhaven.
that one is okay. I didn't know
Yeah, the
that. Okay.
Fire Jolt Cafe was actually a place where the characters had to run a magical coffee shop, and all the usual, cheap seats folks started crying about, like how they didn't think it was their version of D&D, and so therefore the world was ending, and what am I going to do? They're going to a coffee shop. They have blue hair. So yeah, those folks, if they see this game, they're going to absolutely just cry into their tidy whities.
Hmm.
But what I think this is, I think this is an incredibly cool example of why it works to play to your genre. I mean, the first thing I saw, I looked at the art and I said, okay, I totally can kind of see in the United States the crowd that this is aiming towards.
Right.
And even a lot of the artwork, the the witches that are depicted, kind of look like the people who are going to be playing it. And I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. But then I did a little bit more digging around, and I found out that actually this whole thing, this genre, goes back decades and decades and decades. It's a genre called magical girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like this
So,
like from the 50s, maybe like the Bewitched, the whole Bewitched thing. Like the
no, but
cartoon,
that's
the opening cartoon where she's riding a broom.
sure, sure. I mean, I
Because that
wouldn't be
kind of looks
surprised.
like this.
I wouldn't be like surprised if the magical girl genre somehow was aware of Bewitched, but this is something that got its start in Japan in the early 1960s.
Okay.
So you have a graphic in the bottom right here. That's a picture from the 1960s from a comic called Himitsu no Ako-chan. So Himitsu's secret, so it's Ako's secret.
Hmm.
And Ako's secret is that this teenage girl is actually a witch. And she has that little compact mirror that she's standing on. That's like her magical mirror that she can go through
Hmm.
and do magical things. And you can imagine why a genre about young girls who have secret powers that can be witches and can do stuff their friends don't know about would get pretty popular with kids,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah.
And so this genre has grown, and there's been so many examples over the years. The one I think most people know would be Kiki's Delivery Service,
Okay.
right? Uh,
I don't.
oh my gosh, I'll get to his name in just a moment. But anyways, so Kiki's Delivery Service, I think the most famous one. There was actually a book Wizards put out called Legends and Lattes.
Hmm.
But then, I mean, you could even include stuff like the Powerpuff Girls.
Sure. Why not?
Or there was a show a couple years ago on USA called Magical Girl Friendship Squad.
Never heard of any of that.
I even, as I think about it, I think you could even include K-pop Demon Hunters in that.
Heard that's really good. I haven't seen it yet, but somebody told me I should watch it.
Yeah, a lot of people seem, it's done great. So it's a really cool genre, and I can see why a lot of people would be into it. And in this particular game, you are running a cafe, but the idea behind this cafe is that you create one wherever you want, on top of a mountain, in the middle of a city, floating in the ocean, wherever it needs to be. But each coffee shop that you create is actually a fount of magic that has to be protected. So that's really what you're doing while you're there. Whether you've got a cafe at the beach or wherever it might be, is you are actually protecting it from, like, beings that are trying to crash between the worlds.
Hmm.
So you might just be a bunch of young girls running a coffee shop, but you're actually protecting the universe at the same time.
Right.
So
Sure. Why not?
I just keep thinking your daughter would love this.
Probably.
Because it's also got, I know she likes K-pop and stuff, and you could
Yeah.
definitely throw elements of that in if you wanted. And they lean into it so well. There's so many good things they included in here. The
Yeah. You know,
dice themselves, they made these six-sided dice called Essence dice, and they're sparkly. because, sparkly witch girls. And this was really smart from a production perspective because it's not too expensive to get six-sided dice custom printed.
Right.
It is more expensive to get really special dice, and then of course if nobody can buy them, blah blah blah. But these, not too expensive, super thematic. I see why people would love it. They have these pumpkin spice cards, which give you different skills that you can do and unexpected events. There is a vinyl record, which I think
That's
is
awesome.
amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so there's an Italian studio called Zeno Music, which actually I've heard of this label. They do really cool lo-fi, so that's kind of neat. They've thrown some of that into there. Even a tote bag, So it's oh, the diary too, like a
The
blank
diary, yeah.
notebook. Yeah, I mean just all kinds of cool stuff you can get with it. I'm not surprised at all to see this do so well. It looks like they've worked with a great artist, and they're very clear on it. It's no AI anywhere in this, and it shows because the art is really really good and really unique. Um, I don't know that I would personally play it because it's not my genre, but
No.
I'm so impressed by it, and I can think of so many people that I would like to get this for as a gift. And if somebody did say, "Hey, we're going to play it this weekend," sure, why not?
Yeah, you know what? Again, like you, I probably would. I probably wouldn't buy this. It's just not my style of play. But it looks really. I mean, it looks good. It looks like they did a good job, and I'm sure their market's going to love it. But if I was at a convention or something, and I, was hanging out with some people or whatever, and they said, "Hey, we're going to play this," and I didn't have anything else to do, I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. Why not?"
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So congratulations to them. I don't know what they've done before. I'm assuming they must have done something before because they really came out of the gate amazingly with this.
I was going to say,
But
if this is a first go, you guys really deserve a lot of credit.
but no matter what, I just think this is something a lot of people have been waiting for. And congratulations, Pumpkin Spice.
Yeah, good job. Good job. All right. Let's bring the tone down just a little bit. It's getting a little too happy in here. Ryan Dancy fired for his AI statement, still thinks AI should make art. So there was an interview with him, lots of philosophizing and not any discussion on how he felt about being fired. So he didn't even talk about that. But he did say, this is his quote: "There are going to be artists who are going to use AI tools to do art they couldn't do now in ways they couldn't do now in ways they couldn't do now." Probably before is probably what they're supposed to say. Um, there are going to be people who have an artistic vision who don't have the skills to do it, and they'll be able to do it. There are people who can't do it. They're paraplegic. They're blind. There's a million reasons that somebody might physically be limited and unable to do art, and they will be addressed.
I get so mad when somebody pulls that card. That's just when I've seen people try to defend AI imagery. I'm not going to call it art. One of the first things they do is like, well, you're just ableist if you don't think you should be able to do it. Yeah, I'm like, first of all, there are a ton of artists in this world who have different types of disabilities. It is in no, I mean, that's just not even a thing. Like, oh, I have a disability, therefore I can do no art. Well, then what about all those people who do?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to open up the whole thing about this because this is just meant to be a quick. Hey, you guys, Ryan Dancy did not come back and make an apology. He came back and doubled down. That's all we want to say. But I mean, come on, man. Yeah. Oh well, what about blind people? Now blind people can do art. Well, Ryan, that's absolutely not what you really mean. What this
Mm-hmm.
guy is thinking here is, how can I put out something without paying artists?
Right.
That's all he's thinking. He's just like, I just think that art should be democratized, meaning you don't think it should matter if somebody's great.
Right.
It should be. It's. It, I'm. I'm gonna stop. I'm about to go on a monologue if I don't. So,
Yeah. Let's
Ryan
let's not do
Dancy,
that.
Ryan Dancy, get stuffed and get out of the business and don't come back.
All right. Let's move on to something a little better.
All right. This is cool. One of the best D&D settings of all time. Ravenloft is back. All right, but the important thing is, a lot of people have been wondering, now that we're almost at the end of the first quarter of 2026, statement, which is boggling my mind. Um, Here we are at the end of the first quarter of 2026, and Wizards is finally getting around to letting people know what they're planning to do this year.
Yeah. No time like the present.
Yes. All right, so let me see if I can blow this up a little bit to read it. They put out their 2026 roadmap showing winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. Uh, and they're mentioning what's D&D going to release, what's D&D Beyond going to release, what are the key events for Wizards for the year, and what kind of partnered content are they going to do. So key events: Universal Fan Fest, GaryCon, Gen Con, London Fan Expo. Great. D&D Beyond is going to be doing a bunch of junk that nobody should care about because D&D Beyond can jump in a lake. And then D&D itself is apparently going into the season of horror, starting halfway in the middle of spring.
Yep.
And then they will go to the season of magic and then the season of champions.
Yep.
So we see that the first thing that's going to happen halfway through the season of horror, I don't know what's going to happen in the first half of the season of horror, but maybe they just didn't line these up right. I don't know. But we see Ravenloft, the horrors within. And then after that, we'll have Arcana Unleashed, and then a really cool book that I hadn't thought about, but it's a great title. It's called To Be Announced. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see what To Be Announced is all about.
Right.
Yeah, because, why think all the way to the end of the year when you're only 3 months in?
Right. Yeah.
Who is running the show over there?
Well, I mean, they do have Season of Champions apparently from October to December. So
Yeah, at least they came up with a theme.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Unannounced, presumably high stakes content. Great.
Yeah, sure. Okay. But hey, this is great. So they're gonna have Ravenloft, the Horrors Within, featuring gothic supernatural themes. Yes, of course. There will be some supporting products, a Taroka deck, a new DM screen, and map pack. So who knows what's going to be going on, but more Ravenloft content is always cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few other things in the partnered content they have this year, which I guess means that they're working with somebody else who's making it.
Okay.
So we've already got Exploring Eberron, the Pugilist class, because the problem with D&D is there were not enough classes.
Right. Right.
So now we have another one. Dragon Magazine, back in the first and second edition era, they would throw all these new classes in, but they would always say it's an NPC class.
Right.
And
like the anti-paladin, right?
That was right, like the anti-paladin.
Yeah.
And the pugilist is exactly the kind of thing you would expect an NPC class to do. And then all of us would play it as a main player character, anyways, and then find out that it wasn't really appropriate. But the pugilist class, I guess you're going to have a bare knuckle boxer.
Didn't we already have monks?
I don't know where they're going with this. But they have some other things. Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting Part 2, The Griffin's Saddlebag Book 1. This sounds kind of fun. Dr. Drillione's Dictionary of Dinosaurs.
Oh, that sounds good.
Oh, that sounds good.
Dinosaurs make great monsters.
Yeah. Just get one for a mount. Get a Brontosaurus mount. Tom Carto's sticker packs. I don't know. And the Northlands World Book. So pretty decent amount of things, nothing earth-shattering, but looks like some fun stuff. So they'll have some things for you to buy if you want to buy some things.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's that.
Okay. I don't believe I have. Yeah, I don't have a slide for this next one.
Yeah, we don't need a slide for this.
Because we don't need a slide.
Nobody wants to see any pictures for this one.
Right. All right. So this is another really quick one. So the Trump administration will pay interest on tariff refunds after Supreme Court ruling.
Right. So basically what it means is the regime has been fighting against anything that would stop their tariffs. And they have been taking it from court to court. And finally, it made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court took a look at it and said, the way that you did the tariffs was not constitutional.
Right.
You don't have that authority. If you want to do tariffs, that's totally fine. Tariffs are a thing. You can do them. But you have to go to Congress and you have to get laws passed and you have to do it like a real grown-up. And so one of the things that the regime was hoping was that they might be able to at least get a ruling that said you can't have your tariffs anymore, but we're not going to make you pay it back because it's so much.
Mm.
But Supreme Court said, no, turns out the law is the law. The Constitution is the Constitution. You have gathered something like 160 billion with a B in tariffs,
Hmm.
and those were gathered illegally, so you have to give it back.
How are they going to do that?
That's the rub. Um,
Say, because I've read on someone on a post said that they had gotten a package in the mail and they had to pay the tariff on it.
well, there
So
is a
how they gonna?
mechanism for this. So there is a
Okay.
mechanism for this. The customs, I don't remember what their full title is, but the customs ministry or whatever they're called, right?
The Ministry of Customs.
Ministry of Customs. Uh, they already have a mechanism by which anyone who has paid a tariff incorrectly or any fees incorrectly can just go to them. You fill out some paperwork and you say, I paid the wrong amount. Please give me a refund. And they will give you a refund. They
Okay.
do that every year. A few companies, from what I've read, have already tried it
Hmm.
and have gotten, sort of messages back saying, we don't have guidance on how to do these kind of refunds yet. And so at this point, we're not giving you that refund. And
Mm.
so now the court battles begin. And the little guys who have been having to pay these tariffs, the independent publishers and small businesses and everybody else, are not going to have an easy way of doing it. Luckily, there's big guys out there, and Nintendo is one of the first ones
Hmm.
who came and Nintendo has sued to get all of its money back, for example.
Wow.
So I think what's going to happen is we'll be watching how the big companies do it, and smaller companies will probably come along and say, "Hey, here's precedent. They got it. I'd like it too." That's I don't think anybody who's had to pay a tariff in the past however many months can expect to see any money back this year.
Yeah.
And it might not be for a long time after that because this is going to go through the courts. The current junta has a long history of not obeying court orders,
Hmm.
so it could take a very, very long time. But the point is, the ruling has happened, so watch this space for other news as in the future.
Yeah. Hell, we might even be able to get to kiss my grits at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. All right. That's enough of that.
Okay.
Let's go to this.
All right. Hey, this is cool. This is a cool story to wrap it up on. So,
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast obviously put out a new-ish edition. Is it a new edition of D&D? Sometime in 2023, 2024. I forget exactly when it came out.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, nobody
enough.
knows. And the weird thing is, nobody's known what to call it because it's
Hmm.
not really 5e anymore. There's
Right.
been a lot of changes, but at the same time, Wizards been very adamant they're not going to call it 6th edition. And nobody's calling
Okay.
it 6th edition. I've
That's
never
fine.
heard anybody casually call it that. So Wizards has gone through all these names. First, they were calling it 1D&D, which was really just an internal code name because that's
Yeah.
stupid.
That's dumb.
Then they called it D&D 2024, which is as dumb as calling something
Yeah.
Windows 95,
Right.
because it's going to not be 2024 pretty
Yeah.
soon.
Hey, time travels, right?
Yeah, it turns out it hasn't been 2024 for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then they were just calling it D&D 5e, but now it got really confusing because people are like, which 5e?
Hmm.
So finally, not through any official announcement, D&D or Wizards has not come out and made like an announcement saying we're going to write this in our books. But what they have done is there is now an FAQ on the D&D Beyond, which consistently refers to it as D&D 5.5. So in the absence of any greater announcement from WotC,
Right.
I think we can say this is 5.5.
Okay. All right, I'm just gonna throw this out there. This is what this has agitated me about D&D for a while now, naming wise, the way they name things. This is how software companies name things.
Yeah,
Like you'd have a software 5 and it wouldn't be 6 until there was like this significant change, right? Like
right.
a
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you get
We call it a full dot release.
right. So they're naming it like you would name software, but you're talking about a creative, artistic, expressionable product. it should have cool names. Like even if they had done like alpha, beta, which is very generic, but like going with the
Yeah.
Greek alphabet, but something like more creative and fantastic, like
Yeah.
like seriously.
I kind of get that. I mean, you got to look back. They did D&D 3.5 as well.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Even back then, they shouldn't have done it. They I don't know. I
It
just thought
was
it was.
tough because, when second edition came out, people wanted to distinguish between the two of them. And since then, people have really gotten hooked on this idea of talking about D&D such and such edition.
Mm-hmm.
But not every game does it that way.
Yeah, no.
So, for example, Top Secret, the first edition of Top Secret was called Top Secret. And then
Mm-hmm.
the second one had a cool name, Top Secret SI for Special Investigations or something.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
yeah.
yeah, and then we had Top Secret NWO for,
Mm-hmm.
New World Order. But I get how that kind of creates a little bit of a branding issue because then people are not necessarily referring to just the brand itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you get people going kind of the opposite direction, like Call of Cthulhu. So Call of Cthulhu, obviously there are edition numbers, but you don't really ever hear people talking about the editions. They just
Right,
play whatever the latest version is.
right.
So I think Dungeons and Dragons has wanted to go down that path of saying it's just D&D. Don't
Mm-hmm.
worry about which edition it is. But that doesn't work because it turns out that no matter what Wizards would like to have happen, the people who played fourth edition, the people who played third edition, second edition, even first edition, were still alive. I
Mm-hmm.
know they don't like that. I know it upsets them that some people have not gotten on the bandwagon and played their new version.
Right.
But people play all the different editions, and people even refer to them. I'm a 3.5 player.
Yeah, yeah.
And cool, that's
Cool.
great.
Yeah.
But now the question is, are we going to now see a split? I'm a I'm sticking with 5e. I'm OG.
Oh, God, please don't say that. Oh my
And
God.
the 5.5 players are going to be like, well, I do this, and all of a sudden there'll be yet another. I don't know.
Right.
I think they're making a big mess out of it.
Mm.
Why did they even need a 5.5? What exactly did it do for them financially?
Sell more books.
They would be able to sell more books. They could just say, I don't know what they could say.
No, you know what? Look, no, because here's the thing. Like, if you think about like, oh, we could sell more DMs, DMGs and more player guides, right? It's like, or you could stick with a system that works and that people love, right? And you could release like world books and
Yeah,
like stuff like that, like cool stuff to help me play the game more, not, oh, let me relearn the rules again that I learned, and oh, look, more rules for making up the same character I made up in the last version. It's like,
yeah.
come on, guys. And if you want to like make changes where, like, for example, well, the sorcerers now are blah blah blah, they're a little different or whatever, right? Well, that's where you come out with like maybe a quarterly kind of book magazine or something with alternate rules,
You
and
could
people can use
actually
whatever the
name a
fuck they want to
magazine
use.
like that. You could take a magazine like that and name it after sort of like an iconic monster or something.
Yeah, like, yeah, you could pick maybe a monster
I don't know.
that,
Maybe what about one that could fly? That'd be cool.
yeah, and breathe. Some of them breathe fire too, right?
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be
yeah,
cool. Yeah. Anyway, that's what they should. My personal opinion is they should just go, all right, this is it. This is the game. We're not changing the fucking rules anymore. None of the like core rules. People
yeah.
like the game. People play the game. This is the game. And if you like
I
stuff, if you like stuff from the past, go play the past version.
I think it makes sense to, as you find ways to streamline certain things and make them a little better, clean up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But creating the confusion where you're not sure, can I play this book with this book,
Right.
is, I don't see how it helps them. I mean, I don't know in the big picture how a game that you really only need two or three books and a notebook and some dice to play can constantly have new stuff. I think it's just by doing new worlds and new content.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that at least now you can say, I'm playing D&D 5.5 or
Right.
5.0
You can at
or
least say what you're playing.
whatever you're playing. Yeah.
Right.
So that's good news in that sense.
Right. 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 Right.
And
All right.
on that amazing bombshell, I think we're done for the week.
Yeah, yeah.
My voice has mostly survived this week.
And guys, I think for the let's skip the Discord this week. One, because you're tearing your vocal cords up,
Yeah.
and two, I have something else I have to do. So we'll skip it this week, but we'll definitely do it next week.
We'll just do it twice next week.
Okay, yeah, yeah, we'll do it
Right.
at the same time. We'll just do them in parallel.
Yeah, no, just repeat everything you say
Right,
twice.
right, right, right.
Okay,
But
okay.
all right then.
Good night, good night.